The first sign was Mrs. Henderson's prize-winning pie. Every year at the county fair, her blueberry concoction took home the blue ribbon. This year, it sat untouched on the counter of her diner, a sickly purple oozing from beneath the crust. The aroma, usually a sweet symphony of summer berries, was replaced by a metallic tang that caused my stomach to churn. "Morning, Sarah," I greeted the waitress, a young woman with bright eyes and a perpetual smile. She was Mrs. Henderson's granddaughter, practically raised on those legendary pies. Today, her smile was gone, replaced by a vacant stare. "You okay?" "Fine," she replied, her voice devoid of emotion. "Just finishing up Mrs. Henderson's shift. She's not feeling well." "Ah," I mumbled, eyeing the offending pie. Maybe it was just bad berries. Except, Mrs. Henderson wasn't the only one acting off. Old Man Jenkins, usually a fixture on his porch with a pot of coffee and a gruff greeting for passers-by, sat slumped in his chair, staring blankly at the wall. His dog, a scruffy terrier named Rusty, whined at my feet, a low, mournful sound that sent shivers down my spine. Harmony Springs wasn't a place for excitement, but the oppressive silence hanging over the usually bustling town square was unsettling. News traveled fast in a place like this. By lunchtime, the rumors were swirling. Mrs. Henderson's bad pie, Old Man Jenkins' sudden illness, whispers of something strange in the water supply. That evening, a frantic knock on my door shattered the eerie quiet. It was Dr. Emily Moore, our town physician, her usually calm face etched with worry. "It's spreading, Ethan," she said, her voice breathless. "And it's more than just an illness." Dr. Moore had a reputation for being a no-nonsense woman, a skeptic who scoffed at ghost stories and old wives' tales. But tonight, her eyes were wide with a kind of terror I'd never seen before. She ushered me inside, slamming the door shut behind us. On her kitchen table lay a microscope, its eyepiece pointed at a slide. "Look," she commanded, her voice tight. I peered through the lens. What I saw turned my blood to ice. A single, translucent spore, pulsating faintly, its tendrils reaching out like grasping fingers. Dr. Moore explained what she'd found in Mrs. Henderson's blood sample. The spore, a foreign life form unlike anything she'd ever encountered. It seemed to be taking over the body from the inside. The infected looked the same, talked the same, but their eyes held a chilling vacancy, a hollowness that spoke of something missing. The next few days were a blur of tests, frantic research, and a growing sense of despair. The spore seemed impervious to antibiotics and resistant to all the treatments Dr. Moore could throw at it. The infected count grew steadily, their vacant stares and emotionless voices becoming the new normal on the once familiar streets of Harmony Springs. Panic was setting in. People boarded their windows, holed up in their houses, afraid to even breathe the same air as the infected. The town square, once a vibrant hub of activity, became a ghost town. One evening, as the oppressive silence pressed down on us, Dr. Moore slammed a book shut, her face pale. "There might be a chance," she said, her voice a thin rasp. "An old medical journal, a forgotten treatment for parasitic symbiosis." The treatment was risky, untested. It involved a rare plant, found only in a remote part of the state, and a delicate procedure that could have unforeseen consequences. But it was our only hope. Without a second thought, I volunteered to make the trek. The journey was long and perilous, a race against time and the growing number of infected in Harmony Springs. By the time I returned, the town felt like a different place. The vacant stares were more numerous, the few uninfected huddled together like frightened rabbits. Dr. Moore treated the first patient, a young boy named Timmy, whose vacant eyes held a faint spark of recognition when I entered the room. The procedure was agonizing to watch, but a glimmer of hope flickered in my heart when a faint tinge of pink returned to Timmy's cheeks. The town transformed into a patchwork of the infected and the unlucky few who remained untouched. The vacant stares, once a chilling anomaly, became a constant reminder of the threat lurking just beneath the surface. Distrust festered, dividing neighbors and families. Who could you trust? Who was real and who was just a husk animated by an alien spore? One day, a familiar face shuffled into the makeshift clinic. Sarah, the waitress from Mrs. Henderson's diner. Her eyes, once bright with youthful exuberance, were now vacant pools reflecting a chilling emptiness. A pang of despair shot through me. Was there any hope left for her? Doctor Moore, her face etched with exhaustion, administered the moonflower extract. The agonizing minutes ticked by, filled only by the whirring of a small machine monitoring Sarah's vitals. Then, a flicker. A recognition flickered in Sarah's vacant eyes, a fleeting glimpse of the girl who used to greet me with a smile. "Ethan?" She croaked, her voice raspy from disuse. Relief washed over me, warm and welcome. It wasn't a complete recovery, but it was a start. Sarah's personality remained fractured, her memories fragmented. But she was fighting back, clawing her way back from the abyss. News of Sarah's improvement spread like wildfire through the remaining uninfected population. A sliver of hope, long dormant, rekindled in their eyes. More people came forward, desperate to reclaim their loved ones. Dr. Moore, fueled by this newfound hope, pushed herself harder, despite the toll it took on her own health. One evening, as I helped her stock the dwindling supply of moonflower extract, a chilling thought struck me. The spores, these alien parasites, how did they get here? Were we the only town infected? The answer, when it came, arrived in a radio broadcast, crackly and distorted. Reports of similar outbreaks in neighboring towns hundreds of miles away. A cold dread settled in my stomach. This wasn't just Harmony Springs. It was bigger, much bigger. The fight for our town suddenly felt insignificant against the backdrop of a potential global pandemic. Dr. Moore, her brow furrowed in worry, listened to the broadcast with a grim expression. "We need to warn someone," she muttered. "Someone who can help." But who? The government? The media? They seemed far away, distant entities from another world. We were just a small town, lost in the vast expanse of the country. A suffocating sense of helplessness threatened to consume me. We were fighting a losing battle, a desperate struggle against an unseen enemy. Yet, as I looked around the clinic, at Dr. Moore's unwavering determination and the flicker of hope returning to Sarah's eyes, I knew we couldn't give up. Harmony Springs might be small, but the fight for our town, for our humanity, was our own to wage. We would continue our painstaking work, one moonflower treatment at a time, hoping that somewhere, somehow, someone would hear our desperate plea and come to our aid. The future remained uncertain, shrouded in an ominous fog. But for now, the fight for Harmony Springs, for every flicker of humanity we could reclaim, continued. Days bled into weeks, the once vibrant town square a desolate reminder of what we'd lost. The success rate with the moonflower treatment remained frustratingly low. While some, like Sarah, clawed their way back with fragmented memories and a struggle to relearn basic functions, others remained hollow shells, their humanity seemingly extinguished. The fear was a constant companion, a cold hand gripping our hearts. The whispers started, carried on the wind, rumors of a government cover-up, of a larger conspiracy at play. Distrust festered, not just between the infected and uninfected, but within the small community of survivors itself. One scorching afternoon, a battered truck sputtered to a stop outside the clinic. A weary-looking woman with sun-bleached hair and calloused hands emerged, a determined glint in her eyes. She introduced herself as Dr. Amelia Brooks, a specialist in biowarfare sent by the CDC after a frantic, near incoherent message from Dr. Moore. Relief washed over me, a wave so powerful it nearly knocked me off my feet. Finally, someone who understood, who had the resources to help. Dr. Moore, her face etched with exhaustion but a flicker of hope rekindled in her eyes, filled Dr. Brooks in on her desperate struggle. Dr. Brooks, pragmatic and efficient, wasted no time. She examined the moonflower extract, her brow furrowing in concentration. "It's ingenious," she admitted, "but incomplete. It weakens the spore, but doesn't eradicate it." Hope turned to ash in my mouth. Weeks of backbreaking work, a glimmer of progress, and it wasn't enough. Dr. Brooks, sensing our despair, offered a sliver of hope. The CDC has been working on a prototype anti-parasitic agent. It's untested, high risk, but it might be what we need. A wave of nervous energy crackled through the clinic. The potential benefits were enormous, but the risks were terrifying. Dr. Moore, ever the pragmatist, made the decision. "We have no other choice," she said, her voice firm despite the tremor in her hands. The following days were a blur of activity. Dr. Brooks, with Sarah and a few other recovering patients as volunteers, prepared the anti-parasitic agent. The atmosphere was tense, a mix of desperate hope and crippling fear. The first trial on a young boy named Billy, his eyes vacant and hollow, was agonizing to watch. Minutes stretched into an eternity before a gasp escaped Sarah's lips. A flicker of recognition ignited in Billy's eyes, a single tear tracing a path down his cheek. He whispered, his voice hoarse, "Mom?" A choked sob escaped me, tears blurring my vision. It worked. The news spread like wildfire. One by one, the infected were treated. Some responded readily, their personalities returning in fragments. Others remained lost, their bodies ravaged by the spore. The fight was far from over, but a corner had been turned. Weeks later, a team of government officials and scientists descended upon Harmony Springs, a stark contrast to the initial trickle of resources. Dr. Brooks, her face etched with exhaustion but a spark of triumph in her eyes, coordinated the relief effort. Harmony Springs would never be the same. The vacant stairs, a chilling reminder of the invasion, would linger in our memories. The town bore the scars of its ordeal, both physical and emotional. But amidst the devastation, a new spirit bloomed, a fierce resilience, a determination to rebuild, a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit. And as for me, standing amidst the ruins of what was once a familiar street, I knew that the story of Harmony Springs wasn't just about an alien invasion or a miraculous cure. It was a story about courage, about the unwavering hope that flickers even in the darkest of times, and the enduring strength of a community bound together by a shared struggle.